In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to take the microscope from the standard configuration, which we call top mount, because the post of the rosette arm is sitting in the top of the flex arm here, and convert it to an XY configuration. You'll note that the battery cable comes already with two connections. The straight connector is the one that is plugged into the microscope head, and the 90-degree connector is the one that goes into the XY unit. So we'll want to disconnect the battery cable from the head of the microscope in order to be able to change the configuration. The mini index plunger has to be pulled and the tension handle loosened to remove the microscope from the flex arm. In the bottom layer of your case is the XY unit, along with the pin and safety knob. So we'll take out the XY pin, remove the safety knob, take out the XY unit and turn it over. You can see how this post threads into the receiver on this side of the XY unit. It's a very easy thread to turn in. It will begin to ratchet, and you just tighten it until the ratcheting stops, and then it is secure. And then we'll typically mount the XY unit as a bottom mount. So we'll insert this post into the bottom of the flex arm, pull the mini index plunger, and release it with the XY unit post at the top. Now, this is fairly secure. You should have no safety issues there, but it is always a good idea in any kind of a hang down configuration to insert the safety knob into the post. On the way that the scope comes in the case, this rosette post also has a receiver for the safety knob that matches. So if you ever elect to configure the scope without the XY unit in a hang down configuration, you would also want to be sure to make use of the safety knob. Now we'll remove the standard rosette post from the microscope by turning this star-shaped thumb knob. This screw will be used to connect the head of the scope to the XY unit. When in the hang down configuration, the battery connection on the XY unit should be rotated to the rear. That makes the orientation of the rosette correct for putting the microscope on. We'll insert the thumb screw and begin to attach the rosette arm of the microscope head to the XY unit. The beauty of the rosette connection is that you have a lot of different options for how you want to orientate the head of the microscope to the stand. So I've begun the straight down hang down configuration like this, but you have the option to rotate the arm out in front of the XY unit, such as this, if you would choose. But standard configuration is straight down. Once you've ensured that the rosette connection is firm and fully seated, you're now ready to use the microscope with the XY configuration. Again, we'll need to re-plug in the battery power for the microscope and then make the connection for the XY unit. The Z unit, the wireless Z unit, which is on this side of the scope, will not work unless you have the power switch on, which also powers the surgical light. So we turn that on, and we also take out the foot pedal, which is stored in layer 4 of the microscope. There are 3 LEDs inside of this foot pedal. The first one is a blue one, which you can see glowing now, and that means that the foot pedal is powered. When we are charging the foot pedal with the USB-C connection, there will be a red LED indicating it's receiving charge, and then when it's fully charged, a green LED will light. This foot pedal battery will last multiple days of surgery, but be sure you turn it off whenever it's not in use so that you're not stuck without the ability to use it. Normally you would put this on the floor, but just for the ease of being able to visualize what's happening here with the foot pedal, I'll hold it here next to the unit. So this button moves the Z unit down, and this button moves the Z unit up. And the red button on the side of the unit centers the Z, which of course you would want to do between each surgical case, but also it's important that you recenter the Z before packing the microscope. That's the way that it's been designed to fit into the case. An interesting note about the centering button. If the foot pedal is switched off and the Z unit has power and you push the centering button, sometimes it will not center. It will travel one direction or the other. So you want to make sure that you have the Z unit or the foot pedal power turned on in order to make sure that the centering button works properly. Now for the function of the XY unit. It's a standard joystick where the surgeon rests their foot here, pulling down on the joystick this way, brings the scope towards you, pushing up, goes away, left and right. And our XY unit also has speed control. So this is maximum speed, and I'll show you now minimum speed. So it's very slow, particularly if you're really working on a high level of magnification. This slowest speed is very helpful. The XY unit also has its own centering button. And, well, I happened to put it back very close to center. Let me speed it up here and center it. Again, between each surgical case, centering of the XY unit is pretty critical, and it also needs to be centered before it gets packed back into the case. Now, if you have a particularly high surgical bed or you prefer to operate with your scope top mount, the XY unit also allows you to configure this microscope for top mount. So again, hold firmly to the entire scope. You want to go ahead and unplug the units and pull the mini index plunger. Let the post come out. Then we will put the entire assembly into the top mount configuration, pull the index plunger so that the scope is fully seated. And now you'll need to turn the XY unit so that the battery connection is facing towards the front, and you'll also notice this directional switch. We need to change that directional switch for this configuration. So basically you put the switch towards whichever arrow is pointing down, and then you will have the proper orientation of the foot pedal. So we're going to rotate the head of the scope like this, and then again, keeping a firm grip on the microscope head so as not to drop it, we're going to loosen this thumb screw until we're able to rotate the rosette arm. Once I'm able to rotate it, I'm coming out completely flat and then retightening that thumb screw. And now I have the entire XY assembly and microscope head configured for a top-down mount, which enables you to have, again, more clearance if that's what you particularly need. Replug in the power. Now the power for the connection for the XY is at the front. Make sure your foot pedal is powered. And now we have the proper orientation of our XY controller. As with any microscope setup, particularly EPIC portable microscopes, making sure that your stand is fully assembled and you have ballast weight on the tripod is essential. I have configured this today in such a way that we make sure it doesn't tip over, but with all of the XY unit, the microscope head on here, if the extension arm and the flex arm are positioned such that they have maximum extension, the stand will tip over and it can cause damage to the microscope.